What up, though, YouTube? I'm back with another video. This is the story of Jesse Mack Butler. I'm following up with the second video. Let's see if a few more folks pull up.
There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman.
A tearful teen is taken into custody after committing brutal crimes against girls he dated. He may look meek in police body camera footage, but police say he assaulted, raped, and even strangled fellow teenagers. And a surprise sweetheart deal took his prison term from a possible 70 years down to 0. We're taking a closer look at how the teen and his mom reacted to police taking him into custody. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Hey, before we get into this episode of On the Case, I want to talk about our partner and sponsor, Upside. This is a free app that gives you cash back when you buy daily essentials like gas and groceries. Upside is so easy, it's free to use. I use it a lot when I pump gas. It also works at convenience stores like 7-Eleven or your favorite fast food place like Taco Bell. And again, we're talking about real cash here. So after you spend, money appears in your Upside account and then you transfer that straight to your bank. So here's what you do. Download the Upside app for free and buy whatever you plan to purchase. You pay as usual with your debit or credit card. Then you file a claim in the Upside app and then you get your money back. So to find out how much you could save with Upside, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen and use our promo code OTC to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon of your first tank of gas. An Oklahoma high school baseball player's name and face are now known across the country, and it's not for good reason. In August, 18-year-old Jesse Mack Butler of Stillwater, Oklahoma, entered a no contest plea to 11 heinous charges, including rape, attempted forced oral sodomy, and more. He was staring down a nearly 80-year prison sentence, but in a shocking twist, the court agreed to grant Butler youthful offender status, and instead of going to prison, Butler went home with instructions on how to complete counseling and community service requirements. Butler's exact treatment plan, it's sealed in the court record, but the district attorney's office released this statement, quote, "The youthful offender sentence imposed against Jesse Butler requires him to complete his rehabilitation plan successfully, including an aggressive schedule of therapy with a specialist in sex offender treatment, and should he fail, he faces reclassification as an adult and a sentence of 10 years in prison." The change in punishment sent shockwaves through the community. It devastated the two girls who had gone to school officials to report what Butler had done to them. A mom of one of the victims told the outlet Tulsa World that the families were completely against youthful offender status from the beginning and said that it was their understanding that the prosecutor trying this case would not accept a deal like that. Photos have been released showing one of the victims in the hospital after apparently repeated assaults by Butler. The victim's family says she ended up needing surgery because of severe damage to a vein in her neck. There are calls for the judge who approved Butler's deal, Special Judge Susan Worthington, to be reprimanded or removed for okaying this deal. Now, in just a moment, I'll talk to a judge who has advocated for youthful offender programs to discuss whether this one is a step too far. But first, I want to let you know what two official affidavits have to say about Butler's behavior and how he reacted when he found out he'd actually be taken into custody. According to the first affidavit, a 16-year-old identified by her initials LS told a school resource officer in September of 2024 that she dated Jesse Butler for a few months earlier in the year, and that during that time, he physically and sexually assaulted her multiple times, including trying to rape her inside his car outside an ice cream shop the previous February. The affidavit reads, quote, "LS reported she yelled and told him no repeatedly and tried to push him off of her, but was unable to overpower him. LS reported Butler told her he was sorry for what he had to do, but he had to do it. LS recalled hyperventilating because Butler intended to have sexual intercourse with her and she did not want to."
So this is the story of Jesse Mack Butler. He's a 17-year-old, now turned 18-year-old, 17-time convicted felon. Well, I won't say convicted, 17 times that he's committed felonies, but he's still walking free. And it's pretty much an outcry. This happened in Oklahoma. I forgot the town. I believe I want to say Tulsa, Oklahoma. No, it's not Tulsa. It's another small town in Oklahoma. But people are wondering why he's out free, because it's located in a college town that's pretty much a small knit town. His family is well connected to a lot of people, including that judge that they just showed, the female in the road. That was the judge that was on his case, who just so conveniently let him off scot-free with probation. So he committed 17 different types of felonies against 2 different types of students, I believe 2 to 3 different types of students. And he's now still walking around free. He's got off on probation and only community service for it. Stillwater, Oklahoma. That's right. Thank you, Cat A Canary 777. How you doing? Welcome in.
According to LS, a woman must have heard her screaming because she walked up to the car and interrupted them. LS told police that Butler told her that if the police came, they would both be in trouble. He reportedly took her back to his home where her car was parked and tried to rape her again. The affidavit reads, quote, LS told Butler she needed to get home, but Butler pulled her on top of him and told her, you're not going until I'm finished. She said she was able to get away and go home, but this wasn't the only time that an adult may have witnessed Butler trying to assault LS. The teen says that she was at the Butler home in their movie room when Butler took his clothes off and tried to have sex with her. She says Butler's mom came to the door asking if everything was okay, but the affidavit doesn't say anything else about her reaction to what she might have seen or heard. In late February of 2024, Butler reportedly strangled her because she refused to have sex with him. The affidavit says, quote, LS reported she was hyperventilating and then recalled her vision being blurry and she was dizzy. She reported her head immediately hurt and she was confused about what had occurred. She was scared of Butler, but when she regained consciousness, Butler was laughing at her. Following this incident, LS reported she had a handprint and an injury on her neck. Butler and LS apparently broke up in March 2024, and he started dating a girl identified as KS, and his disturbing and aggressive behavior allegedly continued. A second affidavit details the assaults KS says she suffered during the relationship. Quote, KS reported Butler had left bruises on her hips from squeezing her so tightly. KS reported the intercourse was extremely aggressive, but she reported she quickly stopped fighting it because Butler would overpower her and hurt her to get his way. KS explained that she learned what to and what not to do to avoid being hurt by Butler. According to KS, Butler would pin her down and she was physically unable to get him off of her. KS stated this would often lead her to hyperventilate, which Butler thought was funny. According to the affidavit, Butler also strangled KS so long that she eventually passed out. She reported she woke up on the floor of the living room in a home where she was house sitting. She claims Butler was livid that she wouldn't have sex with him in someone else's home, so she says he raped her instead. Later that same week, KS reported that Butler choked her again, and it's for a sick reason. The affidavit says, quote, KS stated Butler told her he wanted to strangle her so he could film it on his phone. And if you can believe it, police found that video on Butler's phone, which showed him choking KS until she passed out. Butler was charged in March 2025 with 10 counts. An 11th was eventually tacked on when he reportedly violated a protective order. And we got our hands on body camera footage from Stillwater police that shows officers arriving at the Butler home and taking the teary-eyed young man into custody.
We're ready to obviously tell our story too.
Yeah.
Jess, it's Mom. Open the door. It's me.
And if you'll just have him step out.
Okay. Give me your wallet and phone and stuff. So, okay. Your what?
They're in the car.
Well, okay, it's fine. It's not locked or anything, is it? Okay. So, can you tell him what you just told me, or?
Yeah. So we're here. We're obviously going to place you under arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman. And you shouldn't be very long, but there just is a process for paperwork and stuff. But right now you do have to come with us, and I do have to put you in handcuffs. So turn around for me.
You have to put in handcuffs?
I
Transport somebody in custody.
You know we're doing this. It's okay.
Do you have a- Yeah.
I'll get you out. For me? All right, stay silent. Rick knows about this. Candy's on this. Dad's on his way. We're coming to get you, okay?
You said if he complies with his check-ins and counseling and on social media, no contact with victims, it all goes away. August 4th, 2026, his 19th birthday. Yeah, pretty much. That's what I was heard. That's what I was told as well too. That's crazy to me though. That's
Stay strong, okay? Say your prayers.
I've never heard.
Okay, so we will. He's going to go right to the city of Stillwater jail, and if you'll just contact her, then she does this all the time. She knows what to do.
Make sure
Okay.
she knows Stillwater Police Department, not county.
Yeah.
Stillwater Police Department
We're the ones
on
that-
Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them know that
perfect.
we're the ones that picked him up.
And
They
when
don't-
you say we are
Stillwater PD.
Stillwater PD.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way they don't think he went like straight over and he's over at the county.
Awful experience for a child.
Pat you down and spread your feet for me. Nothing in your side.
Let's just see that.
Butler was released on a $25,000 bond. When he entered his no contest plea over the summer, the mom of LS shared her victim impact statement online, and it says in part, quote, "I've had to carry this weight while going to school, trying to act like I'm okay. I've woken up from nightmares that make me feel like I'm being attacked all over again. I've had to explain bruises, explain silence, explain why I started isolating from people who loved me. You didn't just strangle me with your hands, you strangled my voice, my joy, my ability to feel safe in my own body. I will never forget the night you strangled me unconscious because I said no. The moment changed my life." A medical professional later told me that I was just 30 seconds away from dying. 30 seconds. If you had just kept your hands on my neck just a little longer, I wouldn't be standing here today.
Kate Canary 77 says from the time he was cuffed to the time he was bailed out was less than 2 hours. Kind of like Donald Trump then, pretty much, somewhat, a Donald Trump kind of thing, how he was in and out, like booked and processed and right back out.
That wasn't just a scare. It was a near-death experience. You didn't just hurt me, you nearly killed me. LS also addressed Butler's mom and dad in her statement, saying, quote, "To Jesse's parents, I don't know what you know. I don't know if you heard me crying through the walls or noticed how your son treated me when no one was looking. But I hope you hear this now. Your son hurt me in ways that cannot be undone, and I need you to understand that your silence, your protection of him, or even your denial, that would hurt too. Because someone should have stopped this. Someone should have seen the bruises and the fear." My colleague, Law and Crime's Jesse Weber, recently sat down with Justin Shepard, known on social media as Just in the Nick of Crime, who did some of the first reporting on this story and spoke with people in Stillwater.
What have you learned here about how this?
Now, Justin and Nick Crime is the content creator I follow. He was the first person that's how I first started hearing about this case and actually did my first video to the Jesse Mack Butler story. And that's also on my page as well, too. But it's been some more recent developments. These are developments that I haven't gotten around to doing them because I've been busy doing other things and things like that.
Is even possible, because I will tell you, there is a lot of speculation online right now that the Butler family may have connections that may have helped him get this so-called sweetheart deal. We couldn't confirm that. What can you tell us?
So I've spoken with some of the families as well of both victims who came forward against Jesse. There is a third victim who, if she hasn't come forward, but can you blame her when you look at this as the justice that they get? So there's a third victim. And kind of like you said, the speculation is that Jesse Mack Butler's father is a man by the name of Mack Butler. And he was the head of football operations at OSU for, I forget how many years, but for a pretty long time. He's, kind of a staple in that community. And when we're talking about Stillwater,
so that's the first player in this case, his father, Mack Butler, who's the head of the football operations. He said this is a football town pretty much that's ran by
Oklahoma. We're talking about OSU for people who don't know. Stillwater is the town, that Oklahoma State University is in. So there's a lot of things tied to that. Mack Butler, it seems that he grew up there. His wife currently works for OSU. His daughter works for the public school system there. He was apparently had been hired as like a coach of some kind for Stillwater High School as well. So somebody with deep-rooted ties into the community, and that then leads you to the judge in this case, or one of the judges in this case, Judge Susan Worthington. Between her and her father, the Worthingtons have had a hold on that bench for over 50 years. So while you can't necessarily say,
and this is the second player involved in the case, the judge that was presiding over his decision in court. Now, say that they have ties as well too, that she has ties to the family.
A definitively, that hey, there's this connection here because he's deep rooted in football. She's a judge. They all grew up in the same town. That there's this kind of connection, but it's not really many difficult mental gymnastics to make that leap, right? That hey, this is a town that requires the college, needs the college to survive. It's very deep rooted into the system, that they're very much supportive of OSU, for this whole kind of thing to be very close knit, and that's kind of what's being speculated, to the point that even it's now gotten the attention of one of Oklahoma's lawmakers, Representative J.J. Humphrey, who's also running for lieutenant governor. I'm actually going to be speaking with him later tonight, a little bit more details.
So is it because they're both donors to this school that's what it is? Is that the connection between the two, the father and the judge? Is that what I'm hearing? Only because this is a football town.
But
yeah, and if you can, I don't know if you've spoken with him already, but Representative Humphrey is talking. My understanding is about a potential investigation into this. Is this true? Is there going to be a formal investigation into what happened here?
It sounds that way, yeah. He kind of looks at it from the same way. He was telling me that he's got a lot of background, in the court system and investigation before he got into politics. And he said, basically kind of the same thing that we were just talking about, that can he say definitively, or can he prove right now that there's a connection? No, but his exact words, but it sure as hell smacks like it, And so he's like, it's worth an investigation. So he's thinking about, wanting to put a grand jury together to do an indictment, possibly, the conversation we had, which will go a little bit more in depth, and I don't know if that could bring additional charges against Jesse, because when you look again at the litany of charges, there are some that should have been on there that weren't. Like, in my opinion, as not a lawyer, why he wasn't charged with attempted murder when one of the girls was near death for what he did.
That's what I wanted. That's what I mentioned in my last video, because when you attempt to strangle someone like that twice, that is attempted murder. And that was a charge that was not listed on there out of the 17 charges that he got.
Did. And so those are kind of the conversations, but he feels that not just Stillwater, that entire county, Payne County, and then other places in Oklahoma, there's a lot of, he said it flat out, there's corruption, and he believes that this is no different than that. And it merits an investigation.
Joining us now to talk more about this case is Judge Brandon Birmingham from Dallas, Texas. Thank you, sir, for being with us here on Law and Crime. In this case, there's youthful offender status, which is what the defendant received in this case. Just first explain, I know this is something that you know well about in your district where you work as a judge. What is youthful offender status?
It is a status that's assigned really to those that are juveniles or on the cusp of being a juvenile, where the punishment for certain crimes is lesser than it would be for an adult. And they have certain programs, certain conditions under the law that the judge.
So that's funny. I was just learning about this in my race, crime, and justice class about juveniles, and also my law corrections class that I'm taking as well too. We were learning about the same thing in two of my classes about juveniles. We were also learning about the death penalty. At one point, they had thought about committing a death penalty for juveniles, but then they considered that to be inhumane and whatnot. But the point what I'm trying to make is that certain crimes, before 18, they can pretty much, they're supposed to be offering an alternative option for certain crimes. But I don't think attempted murder should be one of them, or rape or sexual abuse or any of those type of crimes at all. I'm thinking like, I don't know, vandalism, petty theft, those type of things. but not felony crimes like this. No, and not this amount of crimes that he got. It's no way that you're not even 18 yet and you got 17 different felonies. That's crazy. Hold on, let me see what Kate said. She said, sources say Judge Susan Worthington has resigned effective sometime this month. Small town, everyone is connected. Historically easy on athletes who do bad stuff. Wow, yeah, I had to figure that. I had an inkling that had something to do with it too, Kate. And it's kind of ironic though, mentioning that she just resigned all of a sudden. And I believe, just my opinion, not, nothing confirmed, but it may have something to do with this case. Of course, due to the public scrutiny that it's getting, and it's gonna continue to, receive that, because people are just, they're just baffled at the fact of how he's walking around free like this. And I'm just gonna be real. If this was a person of color, their ass would have been fried and cooked by a jury and prosecutor.
Go through, and it's a little different for those that are younger than it is for adults.
How does that compare to, because in this case, the defendant was 18 years old at the time that this deal was reached, but it's not a situation where maybe he was 15 years old or 14 where this would be a juvenile case. How does the youthful offender status compare to what you might see in a juvenile case?
It's just a function of punishment. I think there's the idea in assessing a punishment that, those that are younger are more likely to make mistakes and need to learn from those mistakes, as opposed to somebody who's, let's say, in their mid-20s or maybe in their 30s, or, that's an adult that we expect them to behave in a certain way. And there's, maybe not laws that are written in a formula, but I think when considering what a person's punishment ought to be, somebody's age and experience has always been taken into account.
In this particular case, this was a no contest plea. So this was a deal that was reached between the defense and the prosecution. For you as a judge, just when these cases go through, and what is your role in this? Because I think for there to be in a case like this, where there is going to be criticism, and that's just the way it is, and I know with your job that there's always going to be criticism of the system in these types of cases. What is the job of a judge? What are you looking for if a prosecutor and a defense attorney come to you and say, we've reached this agreement that youthful offender status is what we're going to move forward with?
Well, the job of a judge really is to make sure that all of the processes are followed to a T, and that both sides has availed themselves to the opportunities under the law to be prepared and to have what they need in order to be prepared. So you're really at that point sort of an umpire that's just making sure that all the boxes have been checked. We do have the discretion and the ability to reject a plea. And if we reject a plea, then we don't get to just put our own stamp on it and say, I reject the plea and I'm going to sentence you to 50 years. Essentially what the rejection of a plea does is it takes everybody to square one and puts it on the trial docket. But that is an extraordinary remedy. And so what you're looking for at the plea is what information has led both sides to come to this agreement. And the judge has the ability, if they want to seek out that information. And because we do have the ability to say, no, we're not going to accept it. It's unjust or it's unfair or the process hasn't been followed.
And in this case, Butler could have received, if the maximum, if he had gone to trial all the way through, the maximum would have been roughly 70 years in prison. Instead, through this youthful offender status, he is going to have a treatment plan that he has to go through with different requirements that he's going to have to meet. But you look at what he was accused of in this case, and it's very difficult to read through. It was violent. What are some of the factors that a prosecutor and the defense attorney you're working with, when determining that youthful offender status is a good resolution for this, how does maybe violent tendencies, the threat of maybe reoffending, how does that go into whether or not this person would be a good candidate for this, as opposed to what could have been, the good majority of his life in prison? Yeah,
you're looking at a prediction of what you think.
I think attempted murder and rape or sexual abuse, sorry, those should not qualify into the youthful status. I don't think they should. I think it should be certain crimes, and I don't think that those should be on the top of the list as well. I don't think there's no rehabilitation for those.
Might happen in the future. Essentially, that's one component of assessing punishment or an outcome in a criminal case. And one of the ideas is that somebody's history will indicate how they're going to act in the future. And so when you're saying, okay, does this person deserve more, a lighter sentence or rehabilitation, you're asking yourself first, can they be rehabilitated? And is there still hope for them to be rehabilitated? That's one component of a very complicated and nuanced issue. The other one, of course, is what are the facts of the case? In other words, if somebody could commit a horrible crime, they might have all the potential to be rehabilitated, but the crime itself is such that maybe that they just need to be punished. And there's always that tension between what's best for the defendant on the one hand, what's best for society, and then, of course, what's best for the victim and what their voice is and how that voice is heard in the sentencing process. But all of it, to go back to your first question, the lawyers are assessing their cases, and there's strengths and weaknesses in every case, and allegations are allegations. You've got to eventually, if you're the prosecution, line up your proof and make sure that you're right, because you don't want to lose. You don't want to even go forward if you're not right. And so I think plea bargains are also a function of the quality of proof by view of how the lawyers assess their case. And so, unfortunately, with a plea bargain, the public doesn't always have all of the information because there's no trial. And the trials, why I love trials so much is because you do get all the information. You get to see the witnesses, you get to judge their credibility, you get to see text messages or videos and all that. In a plea, the public really doesn't, so we are sort of left to speculate. But as a plea bargain, and somebody who's presided over thousands of them and done them myself, plea bargains are functions of proof and your assessment of how strong your case is, whichever side that you're on.
And this is a case, and I think when you read the allegations against this defendant, you hear, the victim impact statements. I mean, it's hard not to be emotional for what these girls had to go through. And I'm sure the judge who presided over this deal knew that there was probably going to be some criticism of it, considering there wasn't going to be 70 years or a period of time in adult prison because he's 18 years old. Not asking your opinion of the decision for this to be youthful offender status, but just as a judge, I mean, it's so rare that we get to actually talk to someone who sits in the chair. How do you deal with some of those deals that may come across that are public, that may have criticism of it, and knowing that you're presiding over something that's probably going to get a lot of heat from the public and from people? Yeah, there is probably information we don't know in this case, but that there's going to be a lot of frustration from the public when it goes through.
And I've been in that situation before many times, some of it very public settings and some of it not public. But either way, as a judge, that every decision you make, you're going to disappoint precisely half of the people that are looking back at you, and sometimes everybody.
That's true.
And so what you have to do is fall back on what your role is as a judge. And we are processing.
That's true. Judges can't please everybody. And it was just proven that here in Detroit, where the prosecutor tried to blast a judge because she let her murderer go, because the prosecutor and the Detroit police, they withheld material evidence. Exculpatory evidence from the defense. So they had no choice but to, the judge had no choice but to dismiss the case and let him go.
As followers, we make sure that the process is followed. We also make sure that everybody stays within their roles. And so that is procedural justice, procedural due process. And so we have to adhere to that. The public outrage is going to come. And we're not here to be popular. We're here to be stewards of the law. I think that, there's accountability for that too, in the sense that the decisions we make, we are not the end all be all. If there is something untoward that's gone on in any given case, there's a process in place, a review process. We answer, unlike the Supreme Court justices of the United States, we do have a reviewing body that looks at whether we did something that was outside of our processes. And we have to be held accountable for that. And we should be. There should be a transparency. I guess the line is that we could never be held accountable for a decision that we make within the realm of discretion. We can always be held accountable for decisions we make that are outside of that process outside of the law, whether it's ex parte communications, bribery, things like that. That is where we can be held accountable. We can be held to answer for that. I think we're seeing now, there's a call for an investigation, I think, into some of, what caused this plea to happen in Oklahoma. And I would hope that to the extent that it can be transparent and accessible to the public, and I'm sure everybody involved is going to take that responsibility very seriously and justify why they did it, or at least make sure that there was nothing outside of that zone of discretion that played into this.
For Butler, once he finishes the treatment plan that he's going to be going through, is there any sort of monitoring of him that could continue on? Like I think of someone who, if he was 26 years old, he goes to prison, he might be a registered sex offender when he comes out, and he has to follow those guidelines. In many states, it would be for the rest of your life. In a youthful offender status situation like this, once he finishes the treatment plan, what would happen next?
Well, if he finishes it successfully, he doesn't go to prison. I think that one of the parts of this is that he has to complete it, and if he doesn't, then he's looking at, I believe, up to 10 years in prison as a result of that. So there is some accountability for him to finish. But if he finishes it successfully, then he's off of what is very similar, I guess, to like a probation. He's off of that status, and he's free to live out the rest of his life.
And and obviously too, I mean, anytime you Google his name, for the rest of his life, there's a
Wow, this is crazy. So due to the fact that he was underage at the time of the incident, he won't be doing life or double life or spending the rest of his life in prison. But even if he don't complete the treatment program successfully, he's only going to do 10 years and probably on good behavior, not even the full 10. That's crazy. And this is the criminal justice system that we have, the broken criminal justice system that we have.
Weight that comes with that, because he will be associated, with this case, which is so difficult to hear. When it comes to recidivism rates, and I know that that's always a big topic of conversation. I mean, how effective, not speaking in terms of this case, but just generally speaking, are these youthful offender status cases?
Well, they can be very effective in the right environment and for the right crime. I actually started a youthful offenders program here in Dallas, and it was geared towards those 17 to 25-year-olds that did dumb things when they were 17 to 25. And I don't mean to say that this is one of those things. They're geared towards certain crimes, but with the right environment, you try to seek out the root causes of the problems. Now, that could be substance abuse, that could be mental health. And if you can treat those problems, then you go a long way towards making sure this doesn't happen again. But that it should not be used as a way to get out from under accountability and punishment in the appropriate circumstance. So it's that tension that we talked about right at the very beginning. What's best for the defendant, what's best for the public, and of course, what's best for the victim. And they're having their day in court as well.
Yeah. And, this is just it's a sad case. You think of these two young girls, the strength and courage they had to come forward. I know their parents have been frustrated with this. We'll see how any sort of investigation plays out in it. And one more, actually, as I think about that, if there is a plea deal that the public's unhappy with, like in this one, I mean, is there any way other than an investigation to find something that happened outside of the law, any way to do any sort of take back on that deal and re-sentence someone like Butler in this case?
No, once the plea is done, it's final. There's going to be no, there's certain procedural things that would have to happen in order for somebody to grant a new trial. Public outrage is not one of them. And so this is done. It appears if there's another victim, then maybe, that's a whole new case. But for accountability, it's going to have to come through a judicial conduct commission, something like that. It's going to have to come through, an investigation. I understand that one of the lawmakers in Oklahoma has called for an investigation that would involve the grand jury, and they have at their disposal tools to subpoena witnesses and to see if, again, going back to what we talked about a little while ago, did something happen in this case that was beyond the scope of discretion is there some kind of an outside influence, like ex parte communications is the most obvious one that might come up, that would cause those that made the decisions to be held accountable in some way. And how does that happen? That happens usually during the reappointment process. I know that in Texas we elect judges, and if this happened and the public was outraged, then they would remove me from the bench. I could be sanctioned and removed from the bench by the Judicial Conduct Commission as well. And so that's the accountability that.
And that's what I think should happen to that judge that he's speaking about. And who this person is that's speaking right now is a judge from Texas, and pretty much giving his legal expertise on the case because he's followed the case and studied it. So he's pretty much saying that if she was elected by the public, she can be removed by the public, which I believe, but she already stepped down. So, but I think that was a deflection
as a result of the investigation. And then, of course, if a grand jury comes back and they find evidence to believe there's probable cause that somebody committed a crime, then they can return an indictment, and that would open up a whole new avenue of accountability as well.
And we'll see how this case plays out. Judge Brandon Birmingham from Dallas, Texas. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to be with us on Law and Crime. It's great to have you.
It's always good to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, so that was one of the videos that I wanted to show. I'm gonna play another one. Sorry, y'all. Hold on 1 second. I'm pulling this video up. Now, the video that I'm about to share now is going to be his compliance hearing that he had. This was a few days ago, I think last week. All right, here we go. Kate said, let me check you. You said the report on Jesse's home life says he is learning to cook, do his own laundry, and building Lego. Says Owen taking care of his sister's dogs. Wow. That's crazy. Okay. I read what you said. I'm just trying to get this video and cue it up from the right point. Timestamp, sorry. I didn't ask for Brian Walsh. All right, so this is the compliance hearing that they had a few days ago.
A young man who committed criminal offenses, pleaded no contest to them, didn't dispute them, is convicted, and is basically.
So with the no contest plea, pretty much he accepts the punishment, but he didn't formally say I admitted or I formally admit guilt. But it can't be used civilly against them, pretty much. So it protects them.
Walking away from all of this with 2 young victims. He's young also, I get it. That's part of the story here, the youthful offender status. But it outraged people because this was criminal behavior and victims felt like there was no sense of justice here. Like, what is going on? How does he just walk around after engaging in this violent, abusive, criminal conduct? So he was back in court today for a compliance hearing. And Aaron Christie from Scripps News Group was there and has the latest from the courthouse where people still not happy to see Jesse Butler.
Jesse Mack Butler was back in court. He's the Stillwater man who pleaded no contest to rape charges stemming from incidents when he was 17. Butler faced up to 78 years in prison, but ended up with no jail time. Typically, a compliance court hearing is not one that would generate a large crowd. But when it comes to the case of Jesse Butler, it's a different story. Protesters lined the streets demanding a larger investigation into the Payne County Court and DA's office.
Rape is rape, violence is violence, and it needs to end. And so does systematic corruption.
So I'm paying attention, y'all, to the video and content. I was checking on my friend who I haven't heard from in about a week and just finding out that they were in jail and they just got out. So that's what I'm checking on them to make sure they're straight. So, but I'm listening at the same time and absorbing what they're talking about. I was kind of checking on them because I didn't hear from them and I was concerned for a while because it was not like them. It was not like them. It was not like that to not speak with them in a while. But let me get back to the story, y'all. Sorry for y'all letting me know that. I don't want to tell y'all all of everything, include my personal life in the content. Sorry. I'm just letting y'all know that's what I'm doing. I'm looking down at my phone.
Review was just to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, including therapy and community service. Victims' advocates voiced concerns of protecting Butler by keeping court records sealed. Kara Carlson, a victims' advocate, says actions like that are a slap in the face to victims who testify.
They endured the trauma of reliving everything, and then it was swept away and it was sealed up as if that was their form of healing, and it's not.
The judge agreed to unseal some documents but kept information about his education and therapy sealed. Butler kept quiet as he left the courtroom surrounded by reporters and protesters. In Stillwater,
And when they mentioned kept the education and therapy sealed, I wonder what was going on as far as the medical part, therapy part, because we know has to be something mentally wrong with this teenager to be committing these type of felonies and these amount of felonies at this young age. And when you said building Lego sets, I wouldn't. That's not at 17. I wouldn't be 17 or 18 or playing with Lego. Not at that age. That would be something in my elementary age. So that's why I kind of put a question mark on the therapy part as far as the mental records, what was sealed, because something needs to be let out, evidently.
Aaron Christie, 2 News, Oklahoma.
Now, I want to give you an idea of what was happening at the courthouse today. There was some video that was recorded by Guerrilla Publishing, Ron Durbin, on Facebook. And it shows, and it's in the courthouse, you've got Butler going through security and being heckled, and people still upset with how this entire case transpired. Take a look.
Now, Jesse, why did you rape those girls, Jesse? Jesse, why did you rape the girls? Do you have anything to say to the victims, Jesse? Do you have anything to say to the victims? Being loud is not a violation. Sir, do you have anything to say to the victims? Do you have anything to say to the victims, Jesse? Why did you rape them, Jesse? Why did you rape the victims, Jesse? Why did you rape those girls? Why'd you strangle them, Jesse?
Wow, I didn't see all that.
Now we've got more video of him leaving the courthouse today and is approached by the media.
Would you like to say anything about your plan or the accusations against you? How do you feel about all of these people here?
All right, let's bring in our think tank. Joining me in studio tonight, live, criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney, Miami-Dade County, former assistant DA in Atlanta, Georgia, Daryl Cohen, along with criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Why do you think the reaction of the public was the way it was to this case? There are other cases like this, but this one exploded. People angry, continue to be angry, sentenced to 78 years, suspended, youthful offender. Like, nothing's really going to happen to him.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. You know what? I
What's
agree.
going to happen?
I do think it's too lenient. I'm not going to say otherwise. I'm very upset about this case. But the good news is karma is going to come kick him in his behind. He will not remain compliant.
So you think he'll violate whatever the standards are?
100%. Yes.
It's easy to, I don't want to say force a violation, but trust me, you look hard enough.
But even doing that, he's still only gonna get 10 years, and 10 years is just not enough for what he's done, regardless of his age. I really don't care about that. But I get what they're saying.
Finding violations ain't that tough. My bigger thing is this is just a betrayal, and everybody's been betrayed, so everybody's kind of rightfully bent out of shape about it. I'd be really upset if this was my community, if this was related to anybody that I was related to, because you expect justice, you get promised things, and then it gets ripped away in an arbitrary and capricious manner that you don't understand.
I don't like the fact that he didn't receive incarceration time. In fact, I hate the fact, but as long as he does the right thing now, the public will not need to get mad. They'll get even, because I sort of agree with Meg that he is going to trip and fall. And if he trips and falls, he's going to trip himself directly into incarceration.
So in some of these cases, information is sealed to protect victims. This, it seems like things are being sealed to protect the defendant. That's the feeling that they have.
And that's more betrayal, because what the justice wants, or what the public wants, is transparent justice and accountability. They've been given a nibble of that. They know enough, but they're not getting the full measure. And it's the full measure that they demand, because people that do violent, horrific things to young girls should go to prison is the general consensus.
Exactly.
He's not in prison.
You see,
that's a betrayal.
You see these victims and the way the victims spoke. And then we have a video as well. This man has violent tendencies, has issues beyond issues. It is not okay. Now, the Youthful Offender Act in general is a more common law kind of description. I think
he was filming himself doing this with his phone. That's the part that I'm stuck on. It was just like, hell no. Let me see. Miss Netnet said this is absolutely disgusting. Yeah, it is. It's just crazy how they just letting this man skate on ice like that. Like it wouldn't be us. I'm saying that. I like watching this show though, this channel, only because it be, giving a legal perspective and things like that have experience and trained in these type of cases. So I like watching what they say, or giving their insight on what the case is like.
is a good thing. I think if you do trip and fall when you're a young person, you should be allowed chances. This is not that. This is sexual assault. This was digital penetration.
2 different women.
And 2 different women.
And remember, when we have first offender, sorry, Daryl, when we have first offender, we don't.
No, it was 3. I heard it was a third victim that came forward. They just haven't gotten around. From the last video that we watched, it was a 3rd victim. They're saying 2, but we count as of right now, I believe it's 3.
Let it happen on certain kinds of cases, like sex cases. We don't let you do you get one shot. It's not appropriate for the kind of charge. This would leave a lot of people real upset. And You oftentimes hear how the reason it worked out like that is to protect the victim. What happens to these victims during trials is sometimes as bad or even worse kind of than the crime, because it's reliving something that was already horrifically traumatic. Now they're doing it.
Well, he didn't send him to trial.
And one of the victims had to have surgery after being strangled by him. And these are 16-year-old kids. And yeah, I say kids, so they're not adults at all. Teenagers, kids that they're under 18, you're kids to me. Of my age, yeah. But they had to have surgery. Like that's crazy.
He did just.
I've never heard of nobody. I'm sorry to keep pausing. I've never heard of hearing nobody having to have surgery after being strangled.
I know.
Which I think that's the least he could do.
That's step one in a process that he needs to undergo. And he needs to be under the microscope every minute of every day as long as he lives. And believe me, he will find that he made a major mistake. Whether he ever admits it to you, to me, to any of us, that's one thing. But he will find that he did. He'll find himself under that microscope. And I agree with Meg. He's going to trip and fall.
All right. So what's the impact now, right? Because that's a big part of this. Let's start, locally in this community, in these schools. How does this impact young men? How does this impact young women?
The men to do this again.
Absolutely, yeah.
And to videotape it.
He's a good guy. He didn't mean to do it. He made a big bad mistake. You can't have that message.
Correct.
The message has to be, if you make a major crime happen because you did it, it needs to be
The no
punishment
contest,
commensurate.
There are impacts on the extreme ends of the spectrum, and that's the problem. The empowerment, yeah, that's a huge message to a bunch of people that should not be receiving the message that, just like Daryl and Meg are saying, yeah, I can kind of get away with this. This is going to be acceptable. This is a slap and a tickle, and nothing bad happens. At the same time, because the judge and the court has sentenced him so incongruously with community values, everybody knows about this. This kid is never going to be able to get away from it, which is probably a good thing. And everybody in the community now knows, hey, you act like this, spotlight's going to be on you. And that's important because so many people take these actions because they know a victim's never going to complain, because of the fear and control involved in these exact kind of allegations, where true victims never ask, never outcry because of that fear. And it's good that education.
Now, I think one of the reasons that people were upset from the beginning here is when he was arrested, people felt like he was treated a little differently. Let's take a look at that arrest video when they come to pick him up at his house.
Give me your wallet and phone and stuff. So, okay. Your what? They're in the car. Well, okay, it's fine. It's not locked or anything. Okay. So, can you tell him what you just told me, or?
Yeah. So we're here. We're obviously going to place you under arrest. There's a warrant for your arrest. We're going to take you to the jail. I told your mom that she can contact a bondsman, and you shouldn't be very long. But there just is a process for paperwork and stuff. But right now, you do have to come with us, and I do have to put you in handcuffs. So turn around for me.
Hold on, I want to see. Chicky Gage, what up, though? Welcome in. Said the mom was too calm for me. Yeah, she was acting calm. Like she was just, everything was normal to her. Like, was it something he had done before that she was aware of and just didn't get caught for it? That's why I said, like, I don't know. But it's some records that they got sealed of him that they need to let us know what's going on. But yeah, she was too calm. Like it was no reaction at all.
She
seemed like she was ready to get him out with me.
You know what's in this. So,
Yeah.
I'll get you out.
She just said it too. I'll get you out.
All right. Stay silent. Rick knows about this. Candy's on this. Dad's on his way. We're coming to get you, okay? Stay strong, okay? Say your prayers.
Okay, so he's going to go right to the city of Stillwater jail, and if you'll just contact her, then she does this all the time. She knows what to do.
Yep.
I'm sure
Okay.
she knows Stillwater Police Department, not county.
Stillwater Police Department on Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let her know that we're the ones that picked him up.
And when we say we are
Stillwater PD.
Stillwater PD.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way they don't think you went like straight over and over with the county.
You on point with this comment. Let me say, because I was thinking the same thing. I think she was calm because Miss Net says, I think she was calm because she wasn't surprised. She probably knew all along with her, with his freak son was doing, with her freak son was doing. I got you. Yeah, I think parents know, mothers know. She probably saw some things, or turned a blind eye to something. Well, she definitely turned a blind eye, but she probably saw some things and just ignored it. I don't think her son was aware. Did she know though?
Awful experience for a child.
Patch it down, spread your feet for me. Nothing in your socks.
That's Jess.
Now, some people criticize police before, and I want to put some context in this because there's a couple ways I think you can look at this. Number one, we have seen so many videos where we're like, police inflamed the situation. Here, clearly they de-escalated this to make it very calm and very safe for everyone. But on the other hand, people look at that and they say, I've never seen a police video like that before.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm just a little bit perplexed. I must have been living under a rock. In the prosecutions that I've had, the defenses I've had in all of the jurisdictions, never have I heard anyone charged with rape unless the circumstances were so unique that, you're just going to be in just for a little bit and you'll get a bond. Bonds are not normally granted easily on a rape charge.
Here in Georgia, so you don't get out. You have to file a motion to step on. You're in there for weeks, period.
If you're lucky.
Judge doesn't even
if
have
you're
the
lucky.
jurisdiction to grant you bond.
Correct.
And I definitely see why a lot of people would view that video and go, whoa, that's showing clear favoritism for one of a variety of reasons.
Right.
My response to that is no, that's a perfectly wonderful, de-escalated, soft arrest. And a lot of arrests do look like that. The real problem is on bad officers and bad law enforcement that could have arrests like that and insist on using overarching violence and aggression.
And
but can I
to
say
be fair,
something?
though, and there are times where the person being arrested is not complying as well.
100%.
Listen, every case I've ever had that has the word sex in it.
Yeah.
And it could be prostitution, it could be the the pandering, it could be the indecent exposure, which were all misdemeanors, a lot less. They are so mean to my clients.
Oh, yes.
They are manhandling them, and they can be 16 years old. They can be 17 years old. That is not what this case is. So
teenagers,
I'm shocked by that.
Teenagers get taught a lesson by law enforcement a lot of the time, and you'll even hear from the, oh, no, don't worry, I gave him a good, because they feel like they're almost parented. But it depends on your community, depends on your cops.
I'm just so disappointed in the fact that he was given a bond instanter, immediately, quickly. Don't worry about it. You'll be in and out. No big deal. Sorry.
Unrealistic.
Doesn't fly with
And
me.
plus, we are not mentioning it, but his skin color and his richness is what happened.
There's some assumptions you can get into that get real awful pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the big picture, and we only have a few seconds left. I started this whole conversation talking about Me Too. Do you believe the pendulum has started to swing back in the other direction a little bit? And is that at all connected to what's happening here?
Yes and no.
That's how I feel.
Yes, I think it has swung back a little bit, and it probably needed to, but I don't think it has anything to do with this. I think this was a one-off. I think the judge was wrong. I think the entire system went bad. It was a fault that can't seem to be corrected.
That's why I think karma's going to happen.
Yeah.
They'll violate.
It doesn't matter about swinging. Your job as a defense attorney is to yank that pendulum off and beat people around the room with it till you win.
All right. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, Brian Walsh, that trial's continuing. The last person to see Anna Walsh alive took the stand, plus Her best friend also testified. We'll show you those big moments, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinny Politan investigates for years bodies.
Sorry, but that's not related to this. But yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to share with you guys. I don't know how somebody can get off scot-free like that. That's what I'm just lost at. And I just pretty much put it on. If it was this, we would not be getting that type of same treatment, regardless of at our age or not. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Tomorrow I will be doing another live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it'll be about a story about a Michigan landlord and also a mayoral candidate, Westland, who ran for mayor in Westland, Michigan, which is like a township outside of Detroit area. Has a civil lawsuit going on for sexual harassment from his tenants. And it's like a class action lawsuit that I want to get into. But that'll be tomorrow at 6. And then I'm also going to do I got a live set up every 6 o'clock p.m. every day today. So pull up, check me out. And let me grab the last few comments. I appreciate those in the bushes. Don't forget to hit that like button. Mama Jock was informed of the arrest before it happened, so she already had the process going. I emailed you the arrest warrant. It is a trip. Oh, okay. Thank you, Kate. Appreciate it. Kate said, "Are you covering the Pontiac Gavel that for her kids?" Are you talking about Kelly Bryant? Because it was actually two stories in the Pontiac area, but I don't know if it was both of them was for 3 years. But I know Kelly Bryant was I believe I saw her. I watched her hearings earlier this year. Which email address did you send it to? The True Crimes with Tone@gmail.com. I can get into Kelly Bryant. Yeah, I can put it on my calendar. It probably won't be able to be this week though. It'll probably have to be next week. But yeah, I can get around to it. I still got her videos and everything like that already. So in the playlist, so I can just do her. Pull up her court information. Yeah, as I was doing this live, I was doing my homework and I got a hold of the Epstein transcripts and I was just looking and see if I wanted to do this, but it's a lot of pages. It's 176 pages of this transcript. That's why I was kind of multitasking doing this live as well. And that'll take a few days to even for me to even, like, I want to say 2 days to even get through all of that. Kate Canary, what's what email address did you send it to? With her being informed of the arrest, it wouldn't surprise me because of her, because of his father having ties to the judge and the family and everything like that, having connections and whatnot. So that's why I said I know it was a whole cover up in that town. They also, Oklahoma is one of the states that also has one of the highest wrongful convictions and also highest death penalties as well too. Okay, my Gmail. All right, I'll check it out. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. Let me check my Gmail real quick. While I'm doing that, I can tell y'all my lives that I got set up for the rest of the week. So yeah, tomorrow is the Michigan slumlord landlord that I got, mayoral candidate, who's being sued for sexual harassment by his tenants. It's a class action lawsuit. I'm gonna read that. It's about 10 pages. Then the next day on the 18th, that would be Thursday, I'm gonna revisit the murder of Tamara Green, the dancer who went missing back in 2000. Well, not went missing, who's unalive back in 2003, who had connections to the at that time Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. I'm gonna read that civil lawsuit that her children, that the lawyer filed post her death. Well, yeah, after she was unalive, I'm gonna read that lawsuit, and that's pretty much it. Friday, I'm gonna get into the Manny Collins story. That was one of the first stories that I started with. And all of these will be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this week. My bad, Kate. I was up here trying to multitask. Oh, okay, I got it. Thank you, appreciate it. Hold on, let me see. Oh, okay. This is a 56 page. Okay, so I can do this next week as well too then. I didn't know it was gonna be that many pages though. But it ain't a problem for me. I mean, I just didn't, I thought it was gonna be like a quick 1-2 page. This is nothing though. I can is all of these related to I'm showing 56 pages for the PDF. Arrest warrant affidavit. Computer's irritating, man. Hold on. I'm up here clicking shit, man. Kate, is it 56 pages for this document or this PDF to this PDF? It says it on my computer, but my computer be loading slow. So I really can't really, I see the first page, just I don't see the other one. Okay, so it is 56 pages then. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can do that next week. The reading of this arrest warrant next week. And do the Kelly Bryant next week. I can probably do that this weekend if I don't got nothing to do, which I don't. Probably on the weekend I don't. I can probably do that this week. If not this weekend, I'll do it next week. But yeah. And then with the arrest warrant, I can read that next week. That'll definitely have to be next week because everything else is booked up for the rest of this week for me. But yeah, that's all I got for you folks. I appreciate you for pulling up. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Peace. Have a good one. Pull up to me tomorrow at 6 p.m. All this week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one.